Before we start, just a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Only 2% are subscribed at 1,000 subscribers. I'll be posting a special video. A stranger is folding my t-shirts on my bed. Another kid digs through my drawer like he owns the place. I am Alex and 16, every muscle in me locks. They glance up like I am the interruption in my own room. The girl smiles and pairs my socks together like this is normal. My throat goes tight and I actually check the hallway for cameras. This is not a prank show, this is my house being rearranged. I know that sounds dramatic now, back then it felt like invasion. Footsteps thump behind me and Dad leans in the doorway like a referee. He claps once and the kids jump then grin at him. See, everyone is already getting along and he lets out a hopeful laugh. I look at him and I have never felt further from him ever. The oldest boy steps closer and sticks out his hand toward me. I am Mason, your new brother, I guess. New brother hits me like a punch I did not see coming. My mouth moves before my brain catches up and I ignore his hand. Cool, I manage because apparently my survival skill is fake polite. I do not shake his hand, which he notices and tries to laugh off. The girl folding my shirts chirps that her name is Lily. The younger kid hangs back near my desk and stares like I am dangerous. Dad nudges him forward and introduces him as Tyler with this gentle tone. Tyler mumbles hi without looking at me, then taps my keyboard twice. My stomach twists because he is already touching things that feel off limits. I tell myself to breathe slow and not make a scene right away. Melissa sweeps into the doorway with a box balanced on her hip. She beams at the chaos and calls it progress while my skin crawls. Alex, can you clear some shelf space so we have room for their stuff? She does not ask if I am okay with this, she just orders. My eyes land on the framed picture on that shelf and something spikes. It is the one thing in here that still feels like my old life. I move a stack of games instead and leave the frame exactly where it is. Melissa notices and her smile flickers before she starts directing the others louder. Dad steps beside me and lowers his voice like we are teammates. Come on, he whispers that they left everything familiar behind to join us. Sounds huge in his mouth and I suddenly feel very small. I nod because fighting him here would blow everything up in one hit. The movers drag in a metal bunk bed and angle it toward my wall. Melissa claps and tells them to shove it right where my bookcase stands. I jump forward and blurt out that my bed is supposed to stay alone. Dad laughs it off and says sharing builds character, which sounds like a threat. Mason calls top bunk and Tyler instantly argues and their voices bounce off my walls. No one asks what I want even though this used to be my sanctuary. I stand wedged between the frame and my desk while they plan my future. Looking back, I should have said something brutal right then, but I froze. Lily lifts one of my shirts and asks if she can borrow it sometime. I snatch it from her hands faster than I mean to and she flinches. Dad shoots me that warning look and my ears burn like I am 5. I mutter sorry, but what I actually feel is this buzzing rage under my skin. I step out into the hallway because I need walls that remember just me. Behind me, Melissa starts telling them I will come around once I relax. Her voice turns soft like I am a shy dog, not a furious person. Out there in the hallway, I make a promise that I cannot unsay later. I swear I will not make this easy for anyone who chose this setup. In that moment, the kids felt like the enemy, not the adults. At the time, that felt like taking control. Now I know it was fear. Fear of disappearing in my own house while everyone else called it a fresh start. I walk back into that crowded room anyway because it is still my name on the door. My toothbrush is gone and Tyler is humming in the hallway. I notice because my mouth tastes gross and the holder is half empty. The door is open just enough to see him hopping from foot to foot. He is waving something around in his hand like a trophy. I move closer and realize it is blue plastic with my chewed tip. He swings it like a drumstick and almost clips the door frame. My voice comes out rough before I can soften anything. Give it back right now. He startles and spins toward the bathroom, still gripping the handle. His heel slips on the mat and the toothbrush flies out of his hand. It arcs once, then drops straight into the toilet with a wet smack. For a second, the house is completely silent in my head. You idiot, it explodes out of me before I can filter anything. He freezes and his eyes shine like he is about to cry hard. I know that look is dangerous for me the second it appears. He spins away from me and yells for Melissa like he rehearsed. She appears fast, wiping her hands on a towel like she sprinted. What happened here? Her gaze lands on Tyler first, then on me. He points at the bowl and chokes out "Thaw. I scared him on purpose. Apparently I lunged at him and almost shoved his face in there. That never happened and my chest feels tight from how wrong it sounds. I tell her I just wanted my toothbrush back and he messed around. She cuts me off with a sharp raise of her hand like I am 5. We talked about tone yesterday and my jaw clenches on its own. Dad steps in behind her, still straightening his watch like this is nothing. Tyler edges closer to him and clutches his arm like a shield. He keeps repeating that I yelled and he felt threatened by me. That word hangs there and I can see Dad swallow it whole. Threatened, I remember that exact syllable every time I brush my teeth now. I insist I was just grossed out and that he was playing with my stuff. It sounds weak even to me because anger sticks to every word. Melissa exhales slow and tells Dad this is exactly what she meant. She turns to me like a counselor who already wrote the ending. You need to manage these reactions if we want this home to work. That tiny word stings more than the rest of her sentence. She adds that we can talk about consequences after breakfast and walks off. I fish the brush out with 2 fingers and toss it straight in the trash. The plastic is slick and I feel dirty all the way to my shoulder. Tyler watches me like he is measuring how far he can push this. I rinse my hand under water until it hurts and still feel contaminated. That evening there is a new poster taped in the kitchen near the fridge. Melissa smooths it down while the marker smell hits me in the face. She calls everyone over and taps the top with a satisfied little nod. House duties chart, she announces like she invented democracy. Names run down the side with little boxes lined up for every day. Mine has more blocks filled with chores than anybody else standing there. Laundry, dishes, trash, watching Tyler after school 3 days a week. She beams and says responsibility shows maturity, which feels like a trap. I ask why I got extra when they just arrived and still unpacked. She smiles wider like that answer is easy and almost cute. You know this place better so you can help things run smoothly. Dad pats my shoulder and murmurs that it is just for a while. A while turns into that first weekend when the sink piles up fast. Lily scrolls on her phone at the table, humming to herself. Mason tosses a ball in the air and catches it over and over. The chart hangs behind them like a contract I never signed. Whose turn is it for dishes? Melissa's voice floats in from the doorway. Everyone glances toward my name before anyone even speaks. I am still finishing homework and my brain taps the brakes hard. I say I will do it after I am done and the air tightens. She steps closer and points at the blank square under my name. This box is still empty and it was supposed to be finished by now. Her finger stays there while she waits for me to back down. Dad looks between us and I catch the moment he chooses quiet. Fine, I push my chair back and the legs scrape loud across the floor. Lily flinches like the sound hits her spine and Tyler stares wide-eyed. I know I am feeding the narrative right then and cannot stop anyway. I scrub each plate harder than needed like that might erase something. Later that night, I hear murmuring through their bedroom wall. The words are muffled but certain pieces still cut through. Unstable, intense, maybe he needs help if this keeps happening. Hearing your own family discussed like a project is its own punch. I lean against my door and listen with my stomach in knots. Melissa mentions how Tyler gets nervous when I raise my voice. She wonders out loud if they should look into counseling options. Dad does not argue, he just exhales like he is already exhausted by me. The next afternoon I come home and find him in my doorway with tools. The knob lies on the floor, the lock piece already separate from it. He gives me a quick half smile that does not reach his eyes at all. We decided no locked doors for now, just until things calm down. My tongue feels heavy while I stare at the open frame of my room. I ask if anyone else has to keep their door open like this. He hesitates just long enough to answer without speaking at all. You know you can always talk to us, he offers instead of yes or no. When he leaves, Tyler and Lily drift in without knocking even once. They bounce on the bunk and peek inside my drawers like it is a game. Mason appears in the hall and leans on the side of the entrance. I stay standing, the only one acting like the room is still mine. Looking back, that missing toothbrush was not about hygiene at all. It was the first small thing that said I had no line they would respect. By the time I figured that out, the lock was already gone from my door. All I had left was how hard I held the knob and pretended it still worked. Tyler is elbow deep in my dresser when I walk in. He jerks around, fast, one hand still buried in my stuff. For a second, we just stare at each other like animals in headlights. Then he yanks his arm free and my wallet drops to the floor. My heart jumps so hard I actually hear the first thud. He darts for it and I move at the same time. We both grab the wallet together and his fingers slip under mine. Let go, I snap, and my voice comes out louder than I planned. He wrenches his hand back and staggers into the bed frame. His eyes fill, not slow but like a switch flips. "You hurt me," he gasps, clutching his arm like I broke bone. Then he opens his mouth and screams for Melissa like the house is on fire. I step back because I already know how this will look. The open drawer, the wallet, the way my fists are tight. My brain races through a dozen possible explanations and picks none. Footsteps pound down the hall long before I find words. "What is going on in here?" Her voice hits first, sharp and high. She appears in the doorway with her phone already raised. That detail does not register fully until later when I replay everything. Right then, I just see the red recording dot near her thumb. He points at me with his other arm still hugged to his chest. He took my wrist and squeezed really hard, he chokes out. I swear I barely touched him, just pushed his hand off my wallet. The way he shakes makes me sound like a lunatic with a temper. "Is that true?" She lowers the phone an inch but not all the way. Her eyes flick from his face to the red mark near his elbow. The mark is from the bed frame, I know it instantly. My explanation dies in my throat before I even start. I was just stopping him from going through my stuff. It comes out flat and defensive like I rehearsed guilt. "You grabbed him," she presses, "that is what I heard." The phone is back up, aimed at us like a witness. Tyler sniffles and nods, watching me out of the corner of his eye. He keeps talking, piling words up as fast as he can. He says he was just looking for a charger and I exploded. He adds that he feels scared when I get that look. That look, like my face alone, is evidence of a crime. I hear her inhale and I know she will repeat that later. Her gaze lands on the wallet on the carpet between us. Why is that there if he wanted a charger? My mouth opens, closes, opens again, completely useless. If I say I hide cash because things disappear, I sound paranoid. If I say nothing, she builds her own version and Dad believes her. In the end, I just say he had no reason to touch it. "You are overreacting," she says, the phone finally lowering a little. She tells me this is the third time he has looked shaken around me. Third, I mentally count and realize she has a running list somewhere. "You cannot keep grabbing people when you feel annoyed, understand?" He moved my wallet, I fire back, my chest burning. She nods once like that part is irrelevant background noise. "You are older," she reminds me, "you have to set the tone." Her eyes say punishment, the fake gentle voice says concern. Dad appears behind her with his keys still hooked on one finger. He glances at the phone, at Tyler, at my fists near my sides. What happened now? His shoulders are already drooping like he knows. No one answers in full, they just give him pieces colored by fear. Tyler whispers that I grabbed his arm and it hurt a lot. Melissa adds that she walked in and heard him cry out. She throws in the word escalation like we are in some report. I tell him I just stopped Tyler from taking my wallet without asking. "Do you understand how that looks?" he asks, pinching the bridge of his nose. The question is not really a question, it is a verdict. I want to yell that if someone filmed the start, things would match. Instead, I mutter that he was snooping and no one cares. "We are going to figure out better boundaries," Melissa cuts in. Her hand finds Dad's arm and squeezes, guiding the conversation. She suggests that my stuff can be moved into storage if it triggers tension. That one word makes my skin crawl so hard I nearly laugh. Tyler edges closer to her side, still rubbing his arm for emphasis. He will not even look at me now, which is almost impressive. I catch Lily watching from the hallway, lips pressed tight, eyes wide. Mason stands behind her, unreadable, like he is taking notes for later. Later that night, I shove a few crumpled bills into a sneaker. My pulse still spikes every time the floor creaks near my doorway. I tell myself I am being smart, not paranoid, which is half true. You ever hide things in stupid places just to feel a tiny bit safe? The house is finally quiet when I walk through the kitchen. Melissa's phone lies on the counter, plugged in, screen facing up. A message banner slides down for a second before fading again. My brain catches two words before it disappears: family court. I stare at the dark screen like it might cough up the rest. My heart is doing that heavy, uneven thing that makes breathing weird. Another notification pops up from a contact named Laura with a gavel emoji. The preview line reads, "Judges listen when there is a clear pattern." I should have turned away right then and minded my business. Instead, I tap the new message before the lock screen kicks back in. Her passcode was my birthday, which, yeah, that hurt later. At that moment, I just heard a soft click and the phone unlocked. The chat is a wall of long bubbles and tiny timestamps. I scroll fast because every second feels stolen and loud. Phrases jump out, not full sentences, just sharp fragments. Protect the kids, document incidents, show instability in the environment. My name appears once in quotation marks like a client on a file. She writes that my outbursts make her nervous about overall safety. She mentions she has recordings that demonstrate my behavior around her children. My stomach drops through the floor because I finally understand the red dot. Another message from Laura pops in while I am still reading. If he lashes out again, it strengthens your position a lot. That line hits harder than anything else on the screen. None of this is about helping me calm down, it is leverage. I lock the phone and set it back exactly where it was. My hands shake so badly the charger cord rattles against the counter. I know if she walks in right now, the whole game is over. I back away like the phone might accuse me out loud. Walking down the hall, I replay my own worst moments in my head. The raised voices, the slammed doors, the grabbed wrist. I cannot pretend those things did not happen, I was there. But seeing them treated like strategy twists my brain in knots. In my room, I pull the sneaker from under the bed frame. I take the cash out and tuck it inside my pocket instead. If someone wants to twist my actions, at least they will work for it. I lie awake knowing one more mistake from me is literally evidence. Melissa snaps her fingers in front of my face when I hesitate. "No, say it calmly," she drills like we practiced. We are in the living room and the coffee table is buried in papers. My foot taps nonstop and she grabs my knee to stop it. "Repeat it," her pen hovers over a legal pad like a threat. I take a breath that does nothing and stare at her script. I feel safe in this home and the routines help my behavior. The words taste like cardboard and I still choke on the last part. Again, softer this time, she adjusts Tyler's collar without looking at me. Lily sits on the armchair twisting her bracelet until it squeaks. Mason studies the floor and answers his lines on autopilot. Everyone is cooperating except me, which is exactly how she wants it. Dad walks in with a tie half knotted and eyes already tired. "We need to leave in 10 minutes or we will be late." He looks at the papers only long enough to wince. "Do not overcoach them," he mutters, "this is not a show." Her head snaps toward him, smile still plastered on tight. "We are preparing them, not scripting them," she answers too fast. She adds that clear statements help the judge understand the environment. That word makes my stomach clench because I am the messy piece. She runs through one more scenario like it is a drill. If someone asks about arguments, you focus on how we resolve them. You never say yelling, you say raised voices during stressful times. She looks at me when she says yelling and my jaw locks. In the car, no one talks for the first 5 minutes. Tyler's sneakers thump the back of my seat with nervous kicks. I warn him once and he pulls his legs up without a word. In the rearview mirror, Dad's grip on the wheel looks painful. At a red light, Melissa reaches over and straightens his tie. "Remember, you highlight stability, not chaos," she murmurs. Her fingers smooth a wrinkle and he pulls away like it burns. I stare out the window and count how many exits I would take. The courthouse lobby buzzes with voices and shuffling, nothing else. We pass through security and my belt sets off the scanner. Arms out, the guard pats me down while I try not to twitch. "You can relax," he says like he has any clue. Outside the hearing room, we line up on a wooden bench. Melissa leans close to Tyler and fixes his hair with shaking hands. "If someone asks how you feel here, you say safe and cared for." He nods hard enough to look like he is bowing. Her attorney walks over with a folder tucked under one arm. He gives Melissa a reassuring smile and a quick handshake. He barely glances at me, just sweeps past us to the door. For him, I am background noise, not a piece on the board. Everyone rise, the bailiff's voice slices through the room like a blade. We stand and my legs feel heavier than they should. The judge steps up behind the bench and flips through a file. His gaze moves over us once, slow like a scan. The grown-ups speak first while we sit in a neat row. Melissa's voice turns soft and steady like she trained for this. She talks about routines and bedtimes and needing one primary household. Then she mentions incidents with my temper and gestures lightly toward me. I can feel my ears burning as her examples pile up. She mentions yelling indoors and how Tyler gets frightened. She uses phrases I recognize straight from those text messages. Every word lands like a small nail, nothing huge alone, brutal together. Dad's turn comes and he clears his throat twice before speaking. He admits there has been tension as everyone adjusts to changes. He also says I am a good kid under a lot of strain. The judge listens without reacting, which somehow feels worse than anger. Then the judge looks straight at me and my lungs forget their job. I am told you have had a hard time, he says. Can you tell me how things feel at home right now? My tongue feels like a brick and everyone's eyes burn into my skin. I hear Melissa's practice line rattling at the front of my brain. But I also see that chat about using my outbursts as proof. I pick something in the middle and hope it does not explode. It is crowded and stressful, but I am trying, I answer. Do you feel unsafe? His face does not give me any clues. I know one word can nuke everything for someone in this room. I think about Tyler's rehearsed fear and my missing lock. No, I say, just overwhelmed sometimes, and I see her shoulders tense. The judge keeps going for a while, mostly with the adults. There is talk about schedules in school and 2 different households. I zone out until I hear my name connect with the word counseling. Apparently my mood might improve with support, which sounds clinical and cold. When the judge finally leans back, the whole room holds its breath. He announces that the current time split for the younger kids stands. No full transfer, no dramatic change, just the same shared setup. Melissa's face barely moves, but her hand closes into a hard fist. He mentions a recommendation for family sessions if everyone agrees. No one answers out loud, which is its own response. By the time we file out, my shirt sticks to my back. I look at Melissa's jaw and know this is not over. In the hallway, her attorney murmurs something about trying again later. She nods tightly, thanks him, and watches him walk away. As soon as he turns the corner, her whole posture shifts sharp. You could not sit still, she hisses at Tyler. That looked bad. He stammers that the bench hurt and he just moved his legs. She spins on Lily for staring at her shoes instead of the judge. Then her gaze snaps to me like a spotlight. And your attitude was written all over your face. I tell her I answered exactly what they asked me. She steps in close enough for me to smell her perfume. If he denies this, it is because we did not look united. Her finger pokes my chest on the word we, like I belong. On the drive home, Dad tries to cut the tension with small talk. No one bites, so he gives up and stares at the road. At one stop, Melissa turns to him with a cool expression. You promised me they would be with us full-time by summer. He stiffens and taps the steering wheel so hard his knuckles stand out. I promised to support you, not magic the system, he answers. She laughs once, no humor, just air and teeth. You moved us in for this, she snaps. You dragged my kids across town. Dragged, that word hangs in the car like smoke. I stare at my knees and pretend I am somewhere else. Dad fires back without thinking this time, his voice rough. You left your husband before we even had a plan. The air compresses, if that makes sense. Everything gets smaller. She whips toward him, eyes wide and furious. Do not rewrite history now, she spits. You chased me. You walked out on your wife and son to start over. That line hits harder than anything the judge said in that room. I look up fast, like maybe I misheard or dreamed that sentence. Dad glances at me in the mirror, then away, then back again. He opens his mouth, closes it, focuses on the road instead. When we reach the house, the younger kids scatter upstairs fast. I hover in the hallway, just out of sight, not quite gone. Their voices roll out of the kitchen in harsh, broken bursts. You promised support money, she throws. Now I look unstable and vindictive. I gave you a home when you needed an address, he fires back. You wanted proof of stability for court, and I rearranged my life. Do not you dare dump this on my kid like he ruined anything. He slams a cabinet hard enough that something inside rattles loose. You are scared they will see who he is, she shoots back. Undisciplined, explosive, that is what they saw today. If he blows up again, it only helps me next time. My hand curls around the banister so tight my fingers ache. Dad lowers his voice, but I still catch pieces. Stop using him as a tool, he says. He is not your exhibit. The word exhibit makes my stomach twist in a new ugly way. I am not even a person. In that sentence, I am evidence. I back up the stairs before they notice me listening. Every step feels loud even though I try to ease my weight. In my room, I sit on the edge of the bunk and stare. Downstairs, dishes clink and voices keep rising and dropping like waves. Looking back, that day was not about the judge's ruling at all. It was the moment I realized every reaction of mine had a price. If I got angry, I was proof for her case. If I shut down, I was ungrateful to him. There was no version of me that did not help somebody else's argument. A duffel bag slams against the hallway wall and bounces. Tyler groans that the zipper stuck again and kicks the side. Lily zips hers shut without help like she has done this forever. Their dad pulls the car keys from the hook and everything in me tenses. This is exchange night, which means no one talks about feelings. Melissa checks the time for the 10th time and taps her phone. Her lawyer's name flashes once on the screen, then disappears. She ignores it, but her jaw muscles work overtime. The official letter came 2 weeks before that night. Shared arrangement confirmed and no new hearing scheduled soon. I watched them read it at the kitchen counter in stiff silence. Relief never showed up, only fresh calculations on both faces. For the younger three, it meant calendars and constant packing. For me, it meant I could breathe a little when they were gone. I am not proud of how much that quiet helped me think straight. Sometimes survival looks selfish even when you are just exhausted. On one of those empty nights, a door slammed downstairs hard. My whole body jerked out of sleep, heart sprinting, hands clenched. Nothing followed, no yelling, no crying, just the fridge humming. I lay there staring at the ceiling, waiting for a story that never came. The next morning, Dad caught me glancing at the front door twice. "You are jumpy lately," he said, pouring coffee with a shaky hand. I shrugged and told him I liked knowing where the exits were. He laughed once, then realized I was not joking at all. "You know you are safe here," he tried, leaning against the counter. I looked at the spot where Melissa used to tape her charts. Safe is a big word when someone weaponizes your worst moments. I told him I felt safer than before, which was true enough. The first handoff after the ruling almost blew everything anyway. Melissa came back late, dragging the kids behind her like luggage. Their father's car had hit traffic, so time stretched into something ugly. As soon as the door closed, she turned and scanned for a target. "Your face is in front of that judge," she muttered, dropping her purse. Tyler froze with his backpack half off his shoulders, staring at the floor. She zeroed in on him first, words sharp and fast. "You fidgeted the entire time. Do you understand how that looked?" His lips shook and he whispered that he tried to sit still. She rounded on Lily next, waving one hand in the air. "And you kept twirling that bracelet like you were bored." Lily's eyes widened and went glossy, but she did not argue. Then her gaze landed on me like a spotlight hitting heat. "In our resident storm cloud," she added, tone acidic and bright. "You could not even pretend to be content for an hour. Every flinch will be in the notes if we go back." I felt the old reflex rise, that urge to throw everything over. My tongue loaded the nastiest reply I could build. Before it fired, Mason stepped in from the doorway quietly. He shifted between us and folded his arms across his chest. "Mom, stop," he said, voice low but steady. "We walked in late and tired, that is all that happened." He glanced at me once, then back at her like a warning. "No one here ruined anything for you today." For a second, I thought she might explode right there. Her nostrils flared and she opened her mouth to unleash something. Then she spotted Tyler hugging himself near the stairs, shaking. She swallowed whatever came next and waved us all away. "Go unpack," she snapped, "just go." The kids scattered, bags bumping against steps, doors clicking shut. I stayed in the hall, unsure which direction counted as escape. Mason lingered too, leaning against the wall, breathing hard. He spoke without looking at me, fingers drumming against his arm. "She is not going to forgive that ruling anytime soon." I asked if he thought she still planned to push for more. He laughed, one harsh little sound, and said she hates losing. I wanted to tell him about the texts I had seen, about being described like a loaded weapon in the group chat. Instead, I just asked if he believed I grabbed Tyler on purpose. He stared at the floor a long moment before answering. I think you are pissed off and clumsy with it, he said. I also think she knows how to use that to her advantage. Then he pushed off the wall and headed for their room. His honesty stuck with me longer than any insult. The real shift with Tyler Starr. Ted on a Wednesday afternoon. The others were still at their dad's, so it was just us. He sat at the kitchen table pretending to finish a worksheet. Every few minutes he peered up at me, then dropped his eyes. You are allowed to talk, I finally said, rinsing a plate. He fiddled with his pencil and blurted it out in one rush. She told me to scream if you touch me, his voice tiny. My stomach lurched even though I had already guessed something like that. He kept going, words tumbling out like they were late. She said scared kids get listened to more, so I had to help. I asked him if he understood what that could have done to me. He nodded, tearing up, and wiped his face on his sleeve. I wanted to shout, to demand he fix it, to unload everything. Instead, I pulled out my phone and opened a meme about stepbrothers. It was dumb and loud and borderline offensive, which made it perfect. I slid it across the table and waited. He stared for a second, then snorted, then laughed for real. You are evil, he wheezed, wiping his eyes again. Yeah, I said, try not to scream about it next time. Under the joke, my hands trembled on the edge of the table. That does not erase what happened, just to be clear. I still clench my jaw when I remember the fake crying. But in that moment, he was just a kid trying to please everyone. And I saw how deep her claws went, even into him. Nights when they are at their dad's, the house feels hollow. I use those hours to recharge, that is the honest truth. I play music in my headphones and dump my thoughts into notes. Most of it will never leave my phone, but it keeps me from detonating. Dad knocks before entering now, even without a lock installed. He stands in the doorway and checks my face like a weather report. Sometimes he asks if I want to hang out downstairs. Sometimes he just nods and leaves me with my own noise. One night he stepped in holding an old backpack of mine. Found this in the garage, he said, dangling it by one strap. Thought you might want it back if you are still into hiking. The word hiking did not match anything, but the bag did. I took it and felt how sturdy the straps still were. It was big enough for clothes, chargers, and one favorite thing. He watched my hands for a second with this complicated look. You know there are other options besides running, right? I shrugged and told him I liked being prepared for anything. He sighed and rubbed his face like he aged 5 years. I am trying, he said quietly, I just keep messing it up. He left before I could decide if I believed him. Later, I packed the backpack anyway with the basics. A hoodie, some cash, a half-charged power bank, a notebook. Nothing dramatic, just enough that I would not be stuck if things flipped. I slid it under the bed until only one strap showed. Every exchange day now has its own pattern. The car pulls up, voices overlap, shoes pound the stairs. Sometimes they come in wired and ready to pick at me. Other times they drop their bags and collapse like they survived a storm. I still flinch when any door slams, not going to lie. But I do not grab wrists or shout first anymore. I record things in my head, sometimes on my phone, and choose. Is this worth blowing up or do I let it slide? From the outside, it probably just looks like a messy blended family. Inside, it feels more like a long, tense truce with breaks. I do not love that 3 extra kids live in what used to be my space. I care what happens to them anyway, whether I like it or not. So yeah, 3 strangers moved in and my life imploded for a while. I hated the noise, the charts, the fake tears, all of it. I still keep that packed backpack under my bed just in case. Not because I plan to bolt tonight, but because I finally know I can.